My name is Nurul Sarah Najwa binti Ali Akbar.
Hi, my name is Anis Narisa binti Shairul Baki.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Fakrazi bin Muhammad Nizam.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Fatin Syahira Tuniza binti Masnaura Haslenda.
Hai, Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Natasha Najwa binti Muhammad Saufi.
Hai, Assalamualaikum. My name is Ahmad Amir Hakim bin Sulaiman.
Accountability is the essential key to achieve the successful governance. It is the requirement for every organization, especially in the government sector, to fulfill it. The government need to be compliant and transparent in every decision they make to show the accountability. The lacking of this requirement will be resulted in the decreasing of government ability to govern. As for the Malaysian governance, it shows that the accountability is still lacking despite the progress that have been done. There have been many years issues of accountability in the government still exist. The disclose of information is demanding by the public due to the economic impact and the incidents or issues such as fraud, corruption, money laundering, and many more, which happen in the government administration. The freedom and access to information is said to be very much lacking. This is true, firstly because of the weak structure and the absence of good corporate governance. The good governance is bound to freedom and access to information to the public. This shows that the government is accountable in their activities and discussion. Therefore, when the government is not disclosing the information, it shows that the country is lack of freedom and access of information. The transparency of the government is important as it is the justification on the government is accountable in every decision they make. And for the weak structure and absence of good government is due to the members of the corporate governance usually selected based on their influence. The effective and qualified members of the corporate governance is essential to encourage the accountability and transparency in the government. By this, the issues of accountability will not be frequently happen because the members that govern is qualified to take the responsibility. For example, Datuk Yusni Muhammad Yusof, which is the president of Malaysian Institute of Corporate Governance, upraised his concern in the 2016 on the lack of accountability in the government because of the SCGA report shows that the Malaysia's political and regulatory environment score falling from 59% in 2014 to 48% in 2016. This sum up that the government in Malaysia is lack of accountability and not transparent. Thus, the members of board should not take advantage on their position and work on their responsibilities for the strategic planning of the country.
Next, the reason freedom and access of information is still lacking is because of the use of law as a tool to cover up the misconduct activity, where the evidence of misconduct activity can be kept from the public to know. Then they can legitimate the false information under the law in order to manipulate the public. This is because it to ensure the misconduct activity cannot be prosecuted by the body that have power, such as the Attorney General. Plus, it wants to create the conducive environment in order to continue their misconduct activity. by the authority. For example, the government in 2016 implement the fake news law in order to cover up the issue of 1MDB that had been lost 42 billions and presume it is a fake news. This is because if people spread the issue towards the public, they can be sentenced maximum uh, 10 years imprisonment and 500,000 or both.
From the statement that has mentioned by the authors, this is because the thirdly is lack of integrity in the management. Management is not being integrity when they are referring their own benefit instead of public interest. As we are being aware that integrity is the component to have a good governance. Lack of integrity in management make them tend to not disclose the information about the public interest, even though the public has the right to information. They need to disclose the information about the public interest because the public has the right to the information. Due to lack of integrity in the management, it can lead to falsified reportings which mislead the information that is received by the public. Okay, for example, from the case study, the authors mentioned that the deputy chairman of COSWIP has been charged because involved with the bribery about 1.5 billion. So, it is true that freedom and access of information is still lacking in Malaysia due to lack of integrity in the management.
And lastly, poor enforcement of law not only among the people, but also the civil servants in the country is not longer a strange issue. Although our legal system is at its best, there are still those who ignore the laws of the country and regard them as trivial, which is often an issue for not practicing integrity, honesty, and accountability. People miss one of the important points in the implementation of certain laws in Malaysia, which is they have the right to know the decision of the government, especially in public finance, since the funds come from the people. Most of the people do not know and have the knowledge toward the laws in accessing the information, especially regarding the financial issues. Most of the financial issues are known from the news or by the rumors and whispers from other people who have knowledge in this matter. A lot of public authorities who are not enforcing the law and comply with the obligation and choose to not disclose the financial reports to the people, whereas there are laws in this country that require the report to be disclosed to the public. Information on public finance need to be disclosed to the general public to ensure that they know in general what the government is doing. The disclosure of important information regarding the financial report is necessary to ensure that people's trust toward the government can be gained. For example, the issues of 1MDB information being filtered from the public never has been settled down until today, where the former Prime Minister Datuk Sri Najib Razak, who is the founder of 1MDB, was arrested and charged with 7 offences against him.
We all agree that public finance should be transparent. Firstly, due to gaining public trust. Public trust is important, especially in a democratic country. This is due to the fact that the government will be chosen by a majority vote during the elections. When a candidate receives a majority vote from general public, it demonstrates that the individual can be trusted to look after the well-being of the citizen. Therefore, the person had been chosen in manage the public finance should handle it with transparent and honest. Moreover, transparency in public finance is important because citizens need to know the correct information about the government expenses and revenue. This is due to the fact that it involves public money because one of the government revenue is from taxation. Therefore, the public who are the taxpayers must acknowledgeable about where the money is being spent. When the public know everything about the cash flow of our nation, the government can get the support by the public. Furthermore, the Ministry of Finance must ensure that all program and funds allocated to each ministry are fully implemented according to the budget that enforced in the parliament. This is to avoid any misconduct and corruption that will give a negative impact to our economic. When the public trust government, they will get positive perceptions toward the government actions. So they will follow all the rules and regulation that been established by the government. So the objective of the program also can be achieved. In addition, all the finance must be recorded and disclosed, especially it involved in a huge amount of money. So it is essential for the public finance of our country need to be transparent in order to prevent the corruption and to get the public support.
Next, the needs of transparency is to know the current performance of the country, where it is to ensure the expenditure and the money that had been used by the government is not exceed the limit of the operating expenditure and the development expenditure that had been stated in the annual budget. Besides, the government's projects such as the school, hospital, and the transportation must be supervised in order to update the progress of the project. This is because to ensure the investment from the government is not failed. Next is to ensure that aids such as the medical aid, financial aids, the social protection is received by the right people and to ensure there is no discrimination during the distribution of the aids. For example, the Auditor General that had been appointed by the YDPA is purpose to conduct the independent audit towards the account of the federal, state, and the local government.
Finance need to make all the decisions with transparency by prioritizing the most sector that needed. For example, as we can look in the budget 2021's 200 million ringgit Malaysia has been allocated to tourism sector as the tourism sector is facing most and huge losses due to COVID-19. When the public finance can maintain the transparency, they can avoid the integrity violation cases happen, such as misuse of power, abuse of resources, corruption cases, and others. So it is a must for public finance to be transparent with all their decisions because they are dealing with the public money. For example, they need to inform the public where the money go, where the money spends, through the budget presentations, and also through inform them through the social media such as in the news and the bulletins. So it is a must for public finance to be transparent and to have a good governance.
The last importance of having a transparent government is to improve the quality in decision making in the government. Government who act or behave openly towards the citizens are the ones who are being transparent in taking out their responsibility in a rightful way. By this, it will improve the quality of a decision making by the government, whether it is an internal or external issues. In addition, government will eventually hear the public opinions so that they will make a decision in satisfying the public rather than for their own sake. Hence, from this, It will produce a transparency government in preparing a budget that will prioritize the public important first or the sector involved rather than prioritizing for their own self. Furthermore, government who are being transparent and making a good decision making will also bring a good image of Malaysia itself to other nations, which is Malaysia practice a good democracy by being a transparent and taking a good decisions for the nations. In addition, by making a good decision making, the government will also hinder themselves from practicing a maladministration such as fraud, corruption, and many more. For example, good decision making will be taken during the election time where the government choose a representative, whether it is in local, state level, or even a federal level, by choosing a right person with a right knowledge that their objective is to gain profit for the nations and also taking care of the well-being of the citizens rather than those who are famous and influenced person. Last but not least, having a good decision making by the government will eventually result to a good solution if any dispute arise. This is because once the information are being delivered to the public, they will know the problem that are happened by the government. So from this, many knowledgeable public will eventually provide their opinion in solving the dispute arise. Hence, from this, it can be seen not only public can get the benefits, but also the government itself will gain benefits in providing a good solutions to any dispute arise. Hence, a good transparent government will eventually lead to a good decision making.
In conclusion, the government faced a lot of troubles and difficulties that need to deal in order to enhance the governance and administration accountability. For many years, the government had encounters with the issues of weak structure and absence of good corporate governance, lack of good managerial talent, lack of integrity in the management, and poor enforcement of law among the people. These issues contributing to the poor performance in administration of the Malaysian government. Hence, it may affect the ability to become a developed country in the future. To become a developed country with good administration, free corruption issues, high integrity workers, and establishing transparency in government administration is not an easy work, as they need to create a systematically framework and strategies that allow them to run the government smoothly. With good framework, it can improve and enhancing the accountability issues that still lacking in Malaysia.